Took us a minute.
Yeah.
We got it.
Eventually. Apparently, I don't know how to walk in my own little area here with all the cables.
Office that we got.
Yeah, and the cables going across the floor, trying to trip me up.
They did a pretty good job.
Twice in a row. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of the Beehive Biker Podcast. And it's just us today. So we're going to just roll with it and see what happens.
Did you ever think we were going to get this far?
10 episodes?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I didn't think we would at all. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to give up pretty fast not to make it to 10 episodes.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
But I'm glad that we are sticking to it. So far, so good, I would say. But, yeah. What's new with you, Zach?
Got the tire off my bike.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So explain what's going on with your tire.
So, how long has it been now?
I feel like it's been a hot
month?
second.
It's probably been over a month. A month ago or so, rode into work one morning, and I leave really early in the morning. Like, I'm on the road at 4:45, so I can be work early. And when I got to the parking lot, I stopped the bike, moved my work truck back to the bike in, and as I was twisting the handlebars, it was like, and I'm like, what the heck?
So you thought it was like a steering column issue?
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, well, now I'm going to have to look in, like, maybe grease up the bearings in the in the shaft for the column. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, well, I don't have time to worry about it right now. So I hopped in my truck and just went and did my stuff for the day. And I get back and I hop on the bike and I pull the handlebar up and I'm like, man, I really need to look at this. And I just looked over the fairing and I'm like, oh, dang it.
Flat
I got a freaking flat tire.
Flat as flat.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I pulled it forward nice and slow, backed the truck in, and then I'm like, well, now I got to figure out, one, how to get home, or two, how to fix the tire. And luckily, we had an air hose in the shop, and so I just blew it up. I was like, normal riding PSI is like 40 pounds, but I'm going to go like 55 to 60.
So you didn't notice anything while you were riding on the way in?
No, it felt fine. I had no problems. The bike handled great, and there was no issue.
Is your rim messed up at all?
Oh. And so I rolled the bike forward and found out that there was a 3-inch roofing nail in it. I'm like, well, jeez. So yeah, I overfilled the tire because I'm like, well, I don't have anybody to tow me home. And this is the only transportation that I have, so here we go.
To ride an hour from Salt Lake.
And I rode my bike back home.
Did you leave the nail in?
Yep, I just left it in because I was like, it's holding. If I had caught the nail, let's just say in Ogden, and I drove to Salt Lake and it was fine, I was like, well, going the opposite way, it should be fine. Because it's holding air,
right,
just leaking slowly.
So like a roofing nail, like the ones with the little circle pad on the back. Okay.
Yeah, the little
what are they,
orange
like
washer.
An inch tops?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I just pumped it up extra and was like, if it leaks out slowly. And I actually had my wife on a phone call through my headset, and I'm like,
just so you know.
Yep, I'm riding home. Just watch or just listen. And if anything happens, I'll just pull over and I'll say, you need to come get me, and we'll leave the bike and we'll pick it up on the trailer. Mm-hmm. Which I don't think that made her very, that
made her feel very comfortable about it.
Yeah, no, she was probably freaking out the whole time, but made it home, parked the bike. About a week and a half ago, I finally pulled the nail out and was like, well, I'm just going to throw a plug into it Because, I mean, lots of people just plug the holes in the tires and off they go, right?
Right.
Now, it's not...
Do you have a plug kit?
I do.
Okay.
It's not recommended that you ride on it long time, but for like short periods of time before you, like, if you need to replace, you just need to replace your tires.
Right.
Is basically what they say. So I put a plug into my tire, twisted it, pulled it out, and was like, well, where's the air coming from now? Because I can still hear it, but it's not coming out the hole. Where's it coming from? And it turns out that it was coming out where the valve stem is, because the spoked wheels have tubes in them.
And I didn't know that.
And neither did I.
Well, truth be told, okay, I won't lie. I didn't know that most of them didn't have tubes.
Right, yeah.
So
yeah, I'm
shame on me for not knowing any better. Maybe I need to get a plug kit.
right. Yeah, because I mean, you have the aluminum alloys
Right.
instead of the spoked, and so if you blow a tire,
Just plug it up and get going.
plug it up and
At least
fill it up and go.
Right. And to have like a hand pump or something to get it up and get to the next dealer or mechanic.
Or somebody.
Yeah.
If you're riding with me, I've got 2 pumps on board, so we'll just pump them up.
Just never ride without Zach.
But yeah, I looked it up, and sure enough, there is a way that you can convert it to a tubeless system, but I went from having to spend $250 on a brand new tire to only spending $56 on a tube.
Right.
Plus I think it's like $99 for their 1 hour service. So I got the tire off. Bike's sitting on the jack. It's going to go in this weekend. So
Finally.
yeah.
Speaking of finally, I got my tires done.
I was going to say, there's not much room to
The rear
to
tire
speak
was
there.
like 12 years old, and then the front tire was like 8. So
Yeah.
finally got it into Tucker speed, and
Got the new shoes.
yes. So they called me up the day of, and they're like, "Hey, we got the wheels off, and we're just kind of looking around. Your rear brake pad is non-existent."
Oh,
So,
lovely.
yeah. And then like your front brake's about 40%, high 40% maybe if you're lucky. So your front one should be good if you want to leave it, but you should probably get a new rear one. I'm
Yeah.
like, how much is that going to cost? And I think it tacked on another like 80 or something bucks onto it, because it was like they'd already pulled. It was the rear one. They'd already pulled everything apart. So it's not like you're having. Say I didn't, and then I came back like the next week, it'd probably be more expensive.
Yeah.
Because they have to pull that whole back off,
Yep.
rear end off again. So anyways, I bit the bullet, and I was like, all right, it's better to get it done now, and I'll do the front one like next season or whatever. And then I call them up again because I forgot to ask while I was on the phone with them. I said, hey, should I expect to try and come get it today, or is this another day thing? And they're like, no, you should be finished today, but there is another thing we wanted to tell you. While they were looking around your bike, your transmission fluid is leaking onto the bracket that holds your exhaust. And I was like, oh my gosh, one thing after the next. And I'm like, I've never noticed a leak from anything on this bike. This is the first time I've heard of it or seen it, right?
Yeah.
And the guy on the phone asked me like, hey, or he didn't ask me. He was just talking about exhaust and how the bracket causes it to have issues or whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, that's the stock exhaust. He's like, no, I understand. This is a Harley Davidson stock issue when they design these bikes. So basically you have the plate cover for the transmission on the right-hand side. And then there's this kind of L-shaped bracket that hooks onto the bottom 2 bolts of that faceplate. And then that bracket drops down onto your pipes. And so he says there's a gasket there, and as your bike runs and you're going down the road, it's shaking the pipes, right? And so it's basically causing more stress on that gasket. So that gasket is weak, or it's easy, or it has a shorter lifespan, essentially.
Right.
And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm like, well, what can I do? And he's like, well, you can do one of three things. You can, one, just tighten the bolts and hope that kind of quenches it. And then two, you can replace the gasket, but that's a pretty lengthy service because they have to pull out the primary or something like that.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how much that's going to cost. I definitely can't afford it right now.
Yeah.
And then he said, but the issue is you still have the exact same design flaw. So you're going to eventually have the same issue. And so he said the most definitive solve for that is that you essentially find a aftermarket exhaust that doesn't use that same bracketing system.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm like, do I want to spend, because I mean, you get a new exhaust. I mean, you're getting a new tune. You got to pay for the tuner and the dyno. And I'm like, man, I'm going to be spending like $3,000 just to get this bike not to leak.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to have, when I do that transition of the exhaust, I would probably have to do that whole gasket swap, which is going to be expensive. So I haven't really talked to them about it. I'm just kind of like cleaning it up as I see it and then just riding. Because he's like, it shouldn't be a huge issue because it's just kind of a minor like leak. Like it's not drip dropping like crazy.
Right.
It just collects over time.
Yeah.
And so my biggest worry is that like if it does get worse, it'll kind of drip on the tires and make them slick. And just as a safety worry or whatever. But I don't know. It's something I have to figure out, and it'll probably be a next season or what. But it's just a hard decision. Do I keep dumping money into this bike, or do I upgrade to? Because I think he said it was from I don't know, like 2007 to 2014. I think was the issue. So I'm like, do I get something, in a Milwaukee 8 or a different model? Because it's the touring bikes. It's not the Softails or anything like that. I don't know. I feel like I'm too big for Softails, but I also want to kind of give them another chance. I want to go riding some. So if you're up for it, we'll have to go sometime on a weekend and just hit up a dealer to go on some rides.
I was gonna say we can just go borrow Seth's.
Because what is his a Heritage?
He's got a Heritage Softail. It's I want to say 16. No, it's not that new.
Because it doesn't have a Milwaukee 8.
It's not a Milwaukee 8. It's a 12.
That's same. I think it's same 12. As mine. I thought, yeah.
And then I think Heidi's is a 13.
His mom. That's right. Anyways, so long story short, a lot more money needs to go into this bike eventually. But it kind of surprised me because I'd never heard about that issue before. And there's a lot of twin cam tour bikes in that range. I mean, that's your bike. That's Gary's bike. But Gary's has straight pipes, so I don't know if his is different mounting. But, all these people that we've ridden with have that style of bike, and it's going to be an issue on all of them. Yeah, eventually.
Well, the hardest thing right now is going to be the exhaust, because back in June of last year, they put out the EPA thing where you can't buy a performance exhaust anymore.
So what is that? How do they police that? Is that dealers or like Kentucky, like the smaller shops get around that? Because I don't know. That's half the stuff they do over there. I think.
Really haven't looked into it, so I'm not too sure. All I know is that like trying to buy stuff off of RevZilla or like on the online stuff, you can't buy them unless you are like dedicated to racing.
Right. I do remember hearing about that, but I just wasn't sure how stringent it was, or depending on what state. Because like obviously, if you're in California, because that's where I was watching. I was watching a video of Matt Laidlaw's, where he was talking about what they're allowed to do at their shops and stuff, which is a whole nother bundle of sticks.
Yeah, California's got so many exhaust rules. So
yeah. Anyways, so for those who are curious, the tires I got were the Dunlop American Elites. And if you feel like you're a good rider, but you feel like for some reason you're sucking at handling, maybe try changing your tires out. Because I feel like I'm a much better rider with new tires.
That's because your tires were 10 plus years old.
Well, I'm like, I didn't ever feel like I was sliding.
Right.
You know, I didn't feel like I was losing grip, but the amount of grip that a brand new tire has, obviously, it just gives me a million times more control.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But bottom of the line, you need to get your tire fixed. I have my tires finally fixed.
Yeah.
We got to get riding.
Yeah, we do.
I've been riding. Oh, another story. I went finally, now that I have my tires fixed, I'm trying to ride it to work more. And the first day I ride it to work was Friday of last week. And on the way to work was amazing, super great. And I got outside on my way home. And it's, high noon, or it's, 4 o'clock. I'm like, man, it's hot. It's way hot. And I have my full kit on. Yeah. And I just felt like, I think it was 106 that day. And I just felt like somebody turned a hairdryer right in my face. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I don't even make it to, I think I made it maybe about to Bountiful, and it comes to stopped traffic.
Oh boy. And
I'm just sitting in the HOV lane for maybe 20, 25 minutes, not moving at all. So I just turned my engine off because I've got not only is it 106 degrees outside.
Yeah, you got 218 below you.
No, I was like 280 like between my legs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am going to die. And I'm just sitting there trying to decide what to do. Like, do I get off? Do I try to take back roads? Is it worth it? Is it just be patient and get through? I put my water in my saddlebags, but I had locked them. So I'm like, man, if I want to get to it, which I would if worst case scenario, I would have to get off, unlock, and made me really wish I had the new ones where you can just open them from the seated position. But anyways, I'm sitting there listening to my music, and this guy's like waving me down in the next lane over, and I lift up my visor. He's like, do you want some water? I'm like, yeah. I kick down my kickstand and walk over, and I was like, thanks so much. It's really appreciated. And it's like already opened. It's half empty, but it was like really warm. But I'm like, I'm just thirsty, dude.
It's water, man.
Like, die on the side of the road or drink secondhand water. I don't know. Is that even? When I told my wife that, she was like,
open up your bag and grab your water.
I was so out of it. I don't know. Anyways, I told Ellie that, and she's like, that's kind of gross. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure he just thought this guy's going to die if I don't give it to him. It was fine. I really appreciate it. It was cool, but it did really suck to see that when we did finally get past the blockage, it was because there was a bike that had wrecked.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The front end looked pretty beat up, but I didn't see any other vehicles, so I don't think they got struck. Maybe they lost control. Hopefully, they're okay, but I saw immediately when I got home, because I was going to, post something on the local Facebook pages, like check for your friends or whatever, but somebody had already taken pictures. Yeah. Green Ninja. So I haven't seen if there's news on that, if they're okay, but hopefully they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, continued on. But after that point, I mean, who knows how far the traffic had backed up, because we weren't moving at all. And then from then on, it was like free road all the way up back to home. So that was really nice. It was like 85 down the highway. Nice. But yeah, those are my stories. I'm trying to decide, do I give it a little more time before I start riding like every single day to work, because it is so hot after work.
It's still super hot.
And I'm like, if there's any accidents or any slowing, my bike's overheating if I don't turn it off. And then if it's just like stop and go, like where you're not completely stopped, but you're just kind of rolling, my hand was like dying. And yeah, so I don't know. I'll probably wait maybe a week or so and see if it cools down a little. Because even the morning was kind of chilly almost. It was like 60 degrees, and I was like, ooh. Yeah. But then it jumps all the way up to 90 to 100 and something. But,
yeah.
I don't know. Because what time are you getting home?
I get home a lot earlier than you do, I'll tell you that. Except for on Fridays.
But noon, it's got to be just about as hot, right?
No, usually the hottest part's about 3 to 5.
Really? Oh, so that's where I'm failing.
Which on Friday, I'm pulling into my house at 3:30-ish. But every other day, I'm 1:30 to 2. Unless it's Thursday, and then it's 12:30. So
yeah, but you leave so early.
Yeah.
So early.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. So let's talk about some motorcycle events. First one that I wanted to get out was if you're up in the northern Utah area, we have Peach Days coming up. If you haven't been to Peach Days, it's super fun. Really good time for friends and family. They have a humongo car show and a growing motorcycle show. Mm-hmm. I've participated in the motorcycle show for, this will be my 4th year, I think. No. Yes, maybe.
Something like that.
3rd or 4th. It's probably my 3rd. Yeah. Because I've only taken the bike I have right now to it, and this will be my 3rd summer with it. So yeah, 3 years. But super good time. I mean, how many bikes do you think usually show up?
I feel like last year there was easily over 100.
Yeah, and there's usually a couple clubs that come.
Yeah.
There's Bikers Against Child Abuse. Mm-hmm. There's I can't remember the other one. It's like I don't want to say it and offend them. Say it wrong. Be like,
yeah. No,
there's a couple clubs that come. There's the Veterans Club that shows up. There's the Christian Motorcycle Association. A bunch of those guys show up. They all set up booths, and
there's the Beehive Biker Club. Oh wait,
not a club. Not a club.
Just a couple of riders.
The Beehive Biker Boys. Anyways, super good time. We're hoping to have some things to pass out, some cards, some stickers, some merch if we're really lucky. Probably not quite yet, but if you're a fan of the show and you want to meet us, come to Peach Days. We'll be there. Another point of that is that I'm trying to get in contact with one of the event organizers for the motorcycle show. It's just a matter of getting a hold of him and getting his schedule figured out. But that's one person that we're trying to have on. Another is a former law enforcement officer who rides and talk about motorcycle laws and maybe some statistics about riders in Utah. Let's see. I also had someone on Facebook reach out to me about some family and friends that are custom motorcycle guys, and then the friend of theirs is a pinstriper. So trying to get a couple episodes ahead lined up, but we'll get there eventually. I'm trying to see if there's some events coming up that we didn't talk about last week. Because I think we went all the way out through August.
Yeah, we finished up August.
Yeah, so 10th annual Ride to Zero, which is Friday, September 6th. United We March in collaboration with Full Throttle, Full Mag presents the Gut Check Ride, September 7th. 23rd Barron Show and Shine Motorcycle Show. That sounds fun. That'll be September 7th. Oh, I should probably tell you what Peach Days is. It's the first, the motorcycle show is the first Saturday in September, which I think is that same day, actually. Combat Veteran Motorcycle Association Poker Run, Saturday, September 7th. Ride for the Brave, September 14th. CVMA Poker Run, September 21st. 3rd Annual Teddy Bear Drive and Poker Run. Did you see that one that just happened?
I didn't see it. We missed it by an hour.
Did it run through here?
Well, we were up in Logan when they left.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it looks like there's another one. September 21st. And then like Randy talked about, Lucky Slice Pizza Motorcycle Bike Nights. I saw some pictures of his that looked a lot of fun, so hopefully we'll be able to make it out to one of those. Says they're like once a month all summer long.
Oh, really?
Teddy Bear Ride, August. No, that one's already passed. But yeah, those are a couple events coming up. Alrighty. What are we going to chat about, Zach, for the rest of the show?
It's a good question. I'm surprised we made it this far.
We can talk all day. What are you talking about?
Does just a little quick update. Does the Hive have anything coming up here soon?
I didn't see anything on here, and the Law Tigers are usually pretty good about putting theirs up. I know that they got hit by some pretty serious rain, and I feel so guilty. I feel like the worst friend ever because I was like, I'm going to be there, and I was going to be there, and then it just completely downpoured here, and I was like, there's no way that event is going on because I called Gary up, and I was like, hey, you going to go? And he's like, yeah, and he lives in Ogden, not far from them, or from Golden Spike, and he's like, dude, it is downpouring here.
Oh, really?
And then I was like, oh, I guess I just won't go. And I made a whole big deal about going on Instagram. And then I didn't even go because I thought it would be canceled. And then I see videos of them riding in the rain. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have just gone.
Rain or shine, they do it.
Gary, please forgive me. Gary Hunting. He's probably like, this guy's a complete loser. Says he's going to come and then doesn't.
I wasn't even in the right part of the state. So
yeah, where were you?
I was out in Starvation Reservoir down in Duchesne County.
Were you hungry?
Was I hungry? Oh, yeah. That went right over my head. No, we had a family reunion, so that's where I was.
Gotcha.
Speaking of, though, Dane, my uncle, brought his motorcycle down there.
With the Grizzly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
did he put it back together?
yeah, it actually is all put back together, and there's a couple of things. Like he has, he put his fender back on. So for those of that don't know, when he bought his bike the day after he wrecked it, and then we didn't really do anything except for pull the fender back so that he could ride it, because it wasn't really prohibiting anything from moving or rubbing on the tire when we pulled it back.
It was just a little bent out of shape.
It was just bent. Fixed his highway bar and all that. Fast forward a little bit, it gets in another accident involving you.
Everyone was okay.
Everybody was fine.
Just cracked my saddlebag. It's all good.
And it just redid what we undid and just bent the fender again and broke the crash bar. And so we bent everything back again. Anyways, he's got a new fender on it.
A brand new one.
Brand new fender.
Oh, okay. Just throw out the old crap.
Yeah. He tossed it. It's not... So it came off of just a straight black bike, so it doesn't have any of the gray markings like the rest of the bike does.
Because his had pinstriping. Gotcha.
Yeah, it had gray pinstriping, and
was
this
that
one
stock?
doesn't.
Okay. But the Grizzly was after.
Yeah, the Grizzly was put on by some person,
previous owner.
Yeah, which is actually pretty cool. But
we'll have to put up a picture of it.
Yeah. But the new light that goes on he also put his bumpers back on. He's like, what if it ever happens again? And I'm like,
those bumpers aren't going to do jack.
Yeah, I was like, it's still going to smash the thing to bits. So.
I think those bumpers look so ugly.
And that's what I told him. I'm just like, I mean, you do you, but, and even the guy that put the fender on was like, it just looks so much cleaner without him on there. He's like, just throw them back on. But the new light that he put on there.
On the fender?
Yeah. I'm guessing that they had a revision in their... It's completely different than ours.
Because is it an aftermarket fender?
No.
It's just from another bike?
It's a Harley fender. But it's like, the little orange, light on the front?
Right. Yeah.
It's how it's fogged.
Right.
This one's clear.
Clear orange?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they come stock with an LED light now.
Oh, so you're saying when he bought the light from Harley?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he bought the OEM part, but it doesn't match what we have on ours.
It's probably because it's a retrofit. They don't make ours anymore.
Probably.
Because ours is what, halogen? No.
Yeah.
The headlight is halogen, but is the...
Yeah,
okay.
the little bulb is halogen bulb. Yeah. Mine's not anymore.
Not anymore. I need
LED.
to get LED ones. But I remember when I took off that bumper on the rear of mine, I'm like, why didn't I take this off earlier? This thing looks so much better without it, because that thing is horrendous.
I think you sent me a picture of it right after, and it was like, take your bumpers off.
Oh, you still had yours on?
Yeah. Yeah. And then
I was like, these
as
are
soon as you
freaking
sent it to
idiots.
me, I'm like, pull them off. Here we go. This looks so much better.
Yeah, the lines are so much cleaner without it.
Yeah.
I like the CVO version of the fender on those same years. They look even better.
Yeah.
Because I think they kind of have more of a swoop, but I'm not going to pay money to go switch that out.
No. Yeah, we definitely need to do the LED conversion on your little light, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is yours still orange or okay? Because I know your dad has the one that it looks chrome until you turn it on, and then it's yellow or like orange or has stripes.
Yeah, but that's because his fender's actually smaller than ours.
Really?
Yeah, his tires are actually a different size than ours. So he's actually has soft tail. He actually has soft tail fenders rather than...
Because his is an 08, right?
No, his is an 03.
Oh, it's even older. Mm-hmm. Is that just because it's an older body style? Like
Probably.
all of them were like that, or is his unique?
I have no idea. I haven't really actually looked into it. I just know that on Seth's bike, he's got the skinny fenders where ours has a fat back tire. So I don't know if it's a soft tail setup or an old setup, but I mean, even his, Seth's newer bike isn't set up like ours.
Yeah.
Nor is Heidi's. And Heidi's is even newer. So
what does she have?
She's got a 13.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Speaking of that kind of stuff, close calls, have you had any?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, there's been some times where I'm, I just kind of I zone out, and next thing you know, a car's like flying right next to you, and you're like, whoa. But
nothing that you were like, oh.
Well, that's not true. There was, it would have been just me involved. I was actually up here one night for... I know Kayla can tell you. I can't remember what it was. But anyways, I looked to the south and was like, oh man, it's freaking raining. And I got to drive home. And so I looked at her and I was like, I got to go. Like, if I wait, I'm going to be riding from here to my house in rain.
Where if I leave right now.
From Kaysville to my house in rain.
Right.
And so I took off and I seriously was like thinking in my head of places that I could pull off, park the bike, and have my dad come pick me up and then just ride in the car home. And so I'm like checking off one person's house as I'm going, is it raining? No, we're good. Keep going. So then the next person comes up, is it raining? No, we're good. And I got to the exit of the last person and was like, it's not raining. Like, I'm fine. So I passed the exit, and as soon as I go under the overpass, it just starts pouring, and I was right next to Lagoon. And so I'm like, well, I mean, I'm already halfway home.
Might as well just
go. And so I slowed my speed, held off to the right lane, and I'm just going and doing my thing. And where I-15 moves over and then drops into 215, that little overpass or the flyaway section of the road was really, really crappy. They've since redone it. But I was taking it at like 45 miles per hour, and I was like, I'm fine. Like, I'm going slow, and I'm getting ready to turn, and the bike doesn't want to turn.
You just kind of, are you hydroplaning?
I'm heading towards the wall, and I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I'm pretty sure I was in a hydroplane because I'm like, the bike is just going straight. I got to turn. And so I slowly get on the brakes. I was going like 5 miles per hour, probably about 1.5 feet away from the wall, and was just like, made it and just took off again. But like it would have just been me involved, not another car. But that was probably my closest call.
There you go. Yeah,
I hate riding in the rain.
I'm not a huge fan of it either.
I feel like every time I came up here on my bike, I feel like every time I came up here on my bike, it rained coming home. And so Kayla was like, you need to buy rain gear because we know it's going to rain. And so after like the 4th or 5th time of it raining as I'm going home, I'm like, I'm buying Frog Togs.
How do you like them?
They're fantastic.
You keep warm? Mm-hmm. I haven't gotten any of my own yet, but that is one thing that I do want to get. Just like keep in the bags, worst case scenario kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like fear riding in the rain, but it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And my wife fears the rain though. Like she probably would not go on a ride with me in the rain.
What would happen if you were on a ride?
That's
and
what
it
I'm
started
saying.
raining?
Yeah. So that's the only time I see that happening. I wouldn't be that surprised, honestly. But
leave me at the Maverick. Come pick me back up in the truck.
Yeah, so I haven't gotten any. I've ridden in the rain a handful of times or whatever. But I pretty much have a close call that comes to mind immediately for each bike I've had.
Oh, really?
So the FZ09, I was riding it up to my parents in Cache Valley, and I was taking these back roads, and the one road that I was taking up, it's one lane either way, and it curves around the bend past a tree and a house. And I came around that bend, and there was all this like dirt right there, and I started skidding.
Uh-oh.
And so instead of like low siding and just going, I just went instead of curving, I went straight.
Yeah.
And I went behind all these trees, and I'm just like, just praying, braking. I'm trying to brake real controlled, and I come to a controlled stop, but then I'm like 30 feet off in the bushes. Luckily, it wasn't like a ditch.
Yeah.
It was flat as I came around it, but I'm like behind all these trees that the neighbors had planted, and I'm just like, I'm a freaking idiot here. I just start backing it up and getting out of the brush, and I just go on as if nothing had happened. But I was like, man, that could have been really bad. The Honda Shadow, not the Honda Shadow, the Honda Fury. I went on a small group ride with some guys from here in Brigham City that I'd met, just being a weirdo. I just like saw them, and I tracked them down to the gas station. Like, hey, where you guys going? The one guy had a Fury. That's why I wanted to talk to him. But they're like, "Hi, we're just going for a quick ride." And anyways, we were going through all these roads, on just back roads through Brigham, and I didn't know them as well as I do now, and I didn't see this corner coming up, and I went way too fast into this corner, and I was like slamming the brakes, and my rear end fishtailed.
Oh boy.
But then it corrected, and I was able to stop, and I was fine. But I was like, Definitely some pucker effect going on there.
I was just about to say, that's the pucker moment.
And then the last one with the Harley Davidson, there's been I don't know. There
Wasn't there a time on the freeway where you got clipped?
No, it was on our way out to it, and that was with Ellie. This one really scared me because I felt like a dummy. In Ogden on 12th and Wall. Yeah, 12th and Wall. So we were at the light facing south, trying to turn right, head west towards the interstate, right? And I think there's 3 or 4 lanes of traffic heading west from on 12th. And I was I used to live in Ogden, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's straight, right turn only. Well, that right turn only is not a right turn only. It's a straight and right. And then the other thing is on this other side, on the west side of that intersection, heading west, you have 3 lanes, and then that 4th lane drops off. So not only did I pulled out thinking that this person was turning right, but they were going straight, but I pulled out into the lane that dead ends us eventually. So they started moving over to the other lane, and they busted my highway peg forward, like completely forward, and scratched up the side of their car, I'm guessing, but they didn't stop.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even like apologize for my mistake. Well, at first I didn't realize I'd made a mistake. I was like, what the freak is happening? That's a right turn only. But I went back later. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. Because I felt horrible for putting my wife in danger and myself, and we have a kid at home, But, I think eventually riders have to experience stuff like that, or they're going, not have to, but they're going to experience stuff that's going to remind them how easy it is to make a mistake.
Yep.
And so you sometimes got to get past it, and you've got to learn from your mistakes and just try to do better. Because that one really rocked me for a minute. Let's see. I'm trying to think of any others. One, I guess, have you ever asked yourself how do I even word this? Have you ever been like, man, maybe I need to sell the bike? You ever felt that at all?
Yeah, but probably not for the same reason that you're thinking.
Okay.
Mine's financial.
Yeah. Well, I've had that one before. I've definitely had that one before. We've talked about this.
Yes. Yeah.
Once for when I had my kid.
And then you ended up buying one.
And then
you did the complete opposite.
I think it was when we were trying to buy our house. It was the other time financially. I was like, oh, because the bank was all like, your debt to income ratio, blah, blah, blah. Like, we'll give you this type of loan for this much if you sell the bike and have, whatever. So there was that time. And then the other time that I felt, I want to call it tempted to sell the bike, because I don't want to ever sell the bike or not have a motorcycle, was I had a really close family member almost get killed on a wreck. Like I've seen wrecks. I've known people that have gotten in wrecks. Like there's a local kid, crazy enough. Do you remember when I looked at that orange VTX for you? He passed away. He got in a wreck. Yeah.
Oh man.
So that was kind of crazy because it was right down the road from my in-laws, the kid where he lived, and I think he wrecked somewhere else. But that kind of rocked me. But I didn't know him personally.
Yeah.
But my cousin was riding. Well, it's actually my cousin's son, but he was riding on his sport bike and he wrecked bad. Like I think his femur was shattered. He was in the hospital for like a month, just doing surgery after surgery. And I would go to the hospital, or I went, I think once or twice to go visit him, make sure he was okay. But seeing him in that hospital bed was like jarring, like I would hate for my wife to have to see me in a hospital bed. So that was one time I had to be like, is this really the kind of lifestyle I want to live? But at the end of the day, my bike, every time I've tried to sell my bike, it has not sold.
Yeah.
And so I just take that as divine intervention, that it's like, I'll be okay, you know? And as long as I do my best, that I'll be all right, and I can keep riding.
Yeah.
It's too much a part of me, you know?
Yeah. I figure the biggest thing is that anything could happen at any moment. And that's whether you're walking down the stairs or, I mean, if you were to wreck on the bike and you were to pass away, that's just, I mean, that's what's supposed to happen. I think the reality of the situation really hit me when my mom passed away, of you're not in control of your life. And, you know, things can flip around in a blink of an eye.
Right.
And I mean, that, like I said, that could be you walking down the stairs or, you know, walking into a building. It doesn't matter where or when, you're not in control of it.
Right.
Now you can do things to prevent it.
Right. 100%.
But I wouldn't say shelter yourself from something that you enjoy.
Right.
Because of fear.
Could you imagine if you're like, well, I'll just never ride again. You sell your bike.
Yeah.
And then you're driving your car and like a cow comes flying through the window. You know, like, boom. And then you're dead. And then it's like, man.
You never know.
No. It is something that you have to think of, but I think it's good to have a healthy amount of fear.
Yeah.
Just so that you're, because like you said earlier, it's easy to get distracted, like to just enjoy.
Just make sure you're conscious of everything.
But that healthy amount of fear keeps you focused, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's move on to a little more sunny topic. Not a bad thing to talk about, but what are some favorite moments you've had on the flip side? Things that made you like, I'm so glad that I ride a motorcycle.
I've had a lot of good moments. I mean, we could sit here and talk all day on, you know, just some of the best moments that we've had. I'll start with 3, and we'll see where we go from there. Number 1 is, it's kind of sad, but kind of not sad. It's actually the first time that I took my wife on a motorcycle ride when you got in an accident. But I don't know. It was just, we had just barely started, you know, dating and getting to know each other. And the fact that she put her trust in me, and then after watching everything that transpired, still hopping on the bike and going, was like, well, dang, like she's, you know, she's in for it.
Right. In for the long haul.
Yeah. And then we just, our whole big plan of the ride kind of went down the drain. We kind of made just a little loop, but heading out to, you know, Copperton, and
that was a fun ride though.
And sitting in
I
front of the
I want to go
mine
back out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had this big old plan to go up Immigration Canyon and do this.
Oh, is that where we were going to go?
We were going to head up Immigration Canyon, and we were actually going to go eat at a diner up there.
Wait, what? Maybe I'm getting names mixed up. What's the one that heads over from Preston to Liberty? Isn't that Immigration?
No.
Oh.
Immigration runs up Salt Lake. It's the one. That's the road that the zoo's on.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
And then you can head off into that one. There's a reservoir out there that I can never remember the name.
Well, weren't we worried about it
East
flooding?
Canyon. That's what it's called.
Weren't we worried about the floods?
Yeah. And I had been checking on everything, and we were clear, but obviously divine intervention said, hey, you got to do something else. So that's probably number 1 for me. Number 2 is the time that Seth, Sadie, and I rode out to Hannah, and you really need to go on that ride with me too, because
that's the one that he ran out of gas, right?
Yeah. And so you head up Cottonwood Canyon and you drop down into Heber and all that, and then you you head out past Strawberry Reservoir and you go, and then you take a left as you're heading to Tabiona. And there's two ways that you can go. There's one that's actually, the one that we took was actually the shorter route, but it drops into these really cool switchbacks. And I'm not a big fan of roads that drop off. Mm-hmm. I hate roads that drop off because I
kind of cliffing off the edge.
I feel like I'm just gonna and be gone. But
there's no room for error,
right?
Essentially.
Yeah. But going through those, I mean, I really wish that I may have actually had the camera recording, but
did you ever have it fall off? I can't remember.
The camera? No. But that was cool. I mean, we could have taken the long route, but I don't feel like it would have been as fun. And then dropping into Hannah and running out of gas and having to fill up and then driving back. That was pretty fun. There was one more.
Well, while you think about it, I'll share one of mine.
You go ahead.
So I really enjoyed our ride up through Honeyville and Deweyville. And
this is the one.
Oh, is that what it is? Uh-huh. Okay. And then up into Riverside.
Yeah.
Riverside? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And going to the Sinclair and posing on the Sinclair dinosaur.
Jumping on the dinosaur. Probably
like a bunch of goofy
that,
kids. Oh, come on. They can't stop nobody doing that.
That's
right?
true. Yeah, definitely not.
It'd been awkward if we broke it. Oh, man. But that was a fun one. It was not even that long of a ride, but that countryside going through Honeyville and Deweyville and into Riverside is just so pretty because especially when you're kind of going in the evening, you have the sun setting in the west. And so it's got this nice twilight feel as you're riding through those areas.
It's definitely not what you would expect.
Why is that?
Like, I don't know, just compared to where I live and, just a bunch of farmland, I figured that it'd be the same. But you're riding up against, basically the mountain range.
Right, the edge of the mountain.
Where you're sitting in all these trees and it's completely different. It's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. A fun one is to continue on instead of turning around and coming back is you take Valley View Highway over into Cache Valley, and then you can either turn right. So these are some of my favorite rides because, it's home to me, Cache Valley. So you can either turn right and you can head through Mendon and through Wellsville and then take Sardine Canyon back into Brigham, or you can turn left and you can hit all these little towns on the west bench of Cache Valley. Like, what are the ones? So you go through, why can't I see?
Open your eyes.
I know. Because you go through Newton, Clarkston, Trenton, and then this is the route I usually take. So you head north into Newton, and then you follow the road kind of northwest to Clarkston, and then you turn in Clarkston, head due east into Trenton, and then you can turn left and follow this road all the way to Cornish and into Lewiston, where I have a lot of family.
Yeah.
So that one's a super fun ride, and then you can take that road all the way back through Logan if you want, just to kind of mix it up. But the one I really want, I know I've brought it up a million times, but we do need to do it before the season ends, is up through that pass between Liberty and Preston, heading over to Bear Lake. I just think it'd be fun to get a nice, cool ride near the end of the season, going around the lake, some pretty views, some good food, some of the local joints. Do you go to Bear Lake very often?
No. Kayla,
you rode up there, didn't you?
Yeah, Kayla and I went back at the beginning of the year, but that would have been the first time in 3 years because that's where we were heading when my mom passed away.
Oh,
so
really?
We kind of...
It was supposed to be up at Bear Lake.
Yeah. So we kind of held a grudge to the area.
Fair enough.
But oddly enough, when we rode up there, it kind of put closure to the situation.
That's good.
And I just felt like you can't just hate a place because a loved one passed away.
Right. Well, anyways, so that's one I think would be fun. Get you, Seth, and his wife, and Michaela, and us, and Gary. Just anybody we can get. And then maybe band up on an Airbnb or something just to make it fun. Make it an overnight or whatever. But
yeah, that'd be awesome.
You were mentioning earlier the Sinclair, right?
Yeah.
You've been there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seth, Heidi, and I rode down there. We were bored one Thursday, and we're like, hey, let's just go for a ride. And so, yeah, we avoided. We don't like riding on the freeways in Utah County, and so we headed over through. I want to say it's called Sunset, which is on the point of the mountain in Draper. So if you just head up past the Draper Temple and you just keep going, you'll eventually come over the mountain and you'll drop down into Alpine, and you can head down and take Timpanogos Highway to the back roads that bring you down through Lehigh and spit you out in Saratoga Springs. And then you just ride Redwood Road around the backside of the lake, and then it brings you down into Goshen, where that little Sinclair
That's
is.
where it's at.
Which apparently is now functional and operational, and at least that's
as a mini museum-esque thing, right?
But yeah, that was the place that everybody would go to take pictures of their cars or of their bikes or anything. They just, because it's an old rustic building, and it's it's in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
But then right after that, you head out back east to the freeway, and then we just rode the freeway back up because we were like, we don't have time. The sun was going down. We're just going to catch the freeway and we'll head back up.
Gotcha. Well, good. All right. I think there's only one other thing that I want to talk about, and we'll have to talk because I know you've been talking to Seth about coming on, but I think it'd be fun to, one, talk about what they've done writing wise, but two, what they've been doing on their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Because I just think that I still die when I watch their videos. So what Zach's cousin and his dad have been doing is that they've started a YouTube channel, because doesn't his dad own a dealership of sorts, a used car dealership?
So his dad's a dealer, and he can buy cars from auctions and stuff, and he fixes them up. And basically they have like more than 8 cars at once. And right now on their YouTube channel, they're just testing the limits of how long they can go on a tank of gas after the car says it's empty.
Right.
Which that way, nobody else
crazy.
has to do it. They just have a guesstimated, I can go 36 miles.
It's like, worst case scenario, I'm in the middle of nowhere, and even though my tank says 0, I got maybe 30 miles or whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, it sounds like he's already practicing to do it on a motorcycle, because apparently he needed gas in Hannah.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be super funny, because the other thing they do is they wait on the side of the road and like try and get help, and then they give a gift card out for whoever helps them or whatever. I just think it'd be so funny to be like 4 motorcyclists without gas on the side of the road.
We're all out of gas.
We need gas. I don't think anyone would buy it.
I bet we would all run out at different spots too, because even though you're at 103, you have the 6-gallon tank, and
What's yours at?
Seth is a 103 with a 5-gallon tank because he's on a Softail.
Right.
But I'm a 96 with a 6-gallon.
What is the MPG between them?
I know my bike gets 47. I don't know what yours gets.
I think it's around there. It's like 44 maybe.
But yeah, I don't know if the motor, I know that the gas tank's going to play a big role, because
Right. He's
Seth
gonna
is
run
gonna
out
definitely
first.
run out before.
Oh,
We do.
it says here that mine's average 40, and I wonder if that's even accurate with the mileage I've been getting,
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm not getting very good mileage. But it could just because my computer's still calculating because it's not used to me riding like the interstate travel where I'm probably getting better fuel efficiency.
Right.
Whereas I do, have been riding it mainly just inner city because of the tires.
Yeah.
So it's probably messed up the calculator on it.
Probably.
But I just think that'd be funny.
Yeah. Especially if we all get separated. Seth is a mile down the road, and then me, and then you.
You know
They're
what
just,
would be funny
hey,
is if
he's out of gas.
If we made a little game out of it, who could run out first, get fueled up, and get to like a location before anyone else. And then so who can run out first? Which Seth will have the advantage on us. Maybe we'll have to start with a partial tank on our end.
So the good thing is that for his birthday, I actually gave him a 1 gallon gas tank.
So he can get a little boost.
He can have, and then when he runs out, he can put a gallon in and then take off.
But wouldn't it be funny is if we all just left at the same time? We had to. So I mean, that's gonna be a long ride. That's gonna have to be a day trip. Mm-hmm. But we're gonna have to run out. What I mean, 200 something miles.
Yeah, I think mine's 289. Something like that.
And then try to get gas and then have to get to a final location. I think that'd be hilarious.
Like the Amazing Race.
or like, we've got to get between, like, you have X amount of spots or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or we make, have you ever done a picture scavenger?
Yeah.
Yeah, do something like that. Be like, hey, we got to get all these things. Then you got to run out of gas. Got to get filled up, and then you got to get to the last location first, and then like last person buys dinner or whatever.
I think we got to do it. I think we got to do it.
Oh man,
I'll have to be talking to him.
Yeah, we'll have to have him on. We'll have to get it nailed down because I think that would be hilarious. Mm-hmm. So that's something you might have to look forward to if you keep an eye on the YouTube channel. And anyways, it'll be fun. But it's been a good time, Zach.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. Once again, make sure to keep your eyes on the Instagram, on the YouTube, and then wherever you listen to podcasts, it's available. If you ever find an area where it's not available, let us know so we can get it on there.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as I know, I mean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora. That was one that I didn't even know had podcasts, but somebody on Facebook was like, hey, it's not on Pandora. And I'm like,
really?
Righto, I'll figure it out.
I didn't know that either.
Oh, I can't. iHeartRadio, Audible, but I think Audible is kind of connected to Amazon Music. But anywhere you can find it, it's probably there. So keep your eye out. We're super grateful for all those who've been listening on the weekly basis, and I think it'd be fun. Another episode we should plan on is getting guests to call in and have a little chat.
For sure.
So anyways, we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.